Hello everybody. People say that the checkerboard pattern on a policeman's hat is Masonic. Of course, the Masons use the checkerboard pattern in their temples for their weird secret ceremonies, but if somehow they did put their design on a policeman's hat hidden in plain sight, that would certainly be a statement, wouldn't it? I had heard about this over many years, but I'd never taken the time to properly investigate until now. Now I know the answer. And it goes something like this.
I'm just trying to get some shots of your uniforms. There's nothing rude or anything. Just act natural. Okay, good.
How are you today?
You guys have heard of, I was just speaking to that lady there.
Yeah.
Saying I'm making a video about Sillitoe Tartan. But then she didn't know what it was. Sillitoe Tartan. You guys know what that is, right?
No.
You guys don't know what it is? The official name of that checkerboard pattern on a policeman's hat is Sillitoe Tartan, named after Sir Percy Sillitoe, KBE, Knight Commander of the Order of the British Empire. He was more influential over the structure of the police force than anybody else other than Robert Peel. So it's a little bit odd that he actually has no statue and no plaque. They say instead he has a living memorial, being the pattern displayed on police uniforms around the world. When he introduced the check pattern to police uniforms in 1932, he was working as the Chief Constable for the City of Glasgow Police. The height of his career was becoming the Director General of MI5. So he was very good at keeping secrets, but was he a Freemason? Is there hidden meaning behind the pattern on a policeman's hat? Well, yes, there is, hence this video. But to find out, we're going to need to go down a rabbit hole. There it is. I've been down this rabbit hole for 2 days straight, and I can tell you that it leads to the very roots of pre-Freemasonry in Scotland, and also a dirty little secret in Imperial South Africa. Shall we?
Percy Sillitoe was born in London in 1888 and attended St Paul's Cathedral Choir School. When he was just 17 years old, he was sent to South Africa to work for the Anglo-American Oil Company, but after 3 years joined the British South African Police. During World War I, he fought against German East Africa. After the war, he suffered ill health and had to return to England. At least, that was the cover story. The reality was that when he was 23 years old, he started a romantic relationship with a girl from a local African tribe. She was just 13 years old. The relationship resulted in a child, a secret that this secretive man kept for his entire life.
Sir Percy Sillitoe, later in life, he wrote a memoir. It was called Cloak Without Dagger. And of course, he didn't mention the young girl. But what he did mention was the long boat journey he took back to England, where all of his companions were seasick and he didn't have anybody to speak to. And he was very concerned about his lack of prospects and going back to England without a job. Luckily, he says in his memoir, he was able to spend the month-long arduous boat journey with his old commanding officer, Sir Edward Northey. And Sir Edward Northey had been a military Freemason for over 30 years. I had incidentally the privilege of travelling home with my old GOC, for General Sir Edward Northey, who had formerly been GOC Rhodesia and Nyasaland troops, was now retiring from the governorship of Kenya and was returning to England on the same boat. A month-long boat journey when you're returning to England with a dirty secret and basically no job prospects. What do you think the content of those discussions were? Is it possible that Sir Edward Northey gave a man some advice on how to progress through life in England? Is it possible that he decided to help a man in need? I think so, because without any previous experience at all of British policing, and having been out the country for his entire adult life, the first job he got was Chief Constable of Chesterfield Police. Not just a constable of Chesterfield Police, chief constable, straight in there. Very odd. The internet will tell you that he wasn't a Freemason, or rather the internet will tell you that there's no evidence that he was a Freemason, but that's wrong. There is. The archived website of the Provincial Grand Lodge of Derbyshire reads, over the years many mayors of Chesterfield and other prominent citizens of the town and district have been members. They include blah blah blah, R. Kilpatrick and Captain, later Sir Percy Sillitoe, Chief Constables of Chesterfield. He went from being Chief Constable of Chesterfield Police to Chief Constable of East Yorkshire and then Chief Constable of Sheffield before becoming Chief Constable of the city of Glasgow, and that's where he introduced the checkerboard pattern onto the police hats. The reason for why he chose the checkerboard pattern, at least on the surface of the internet, is that, according to him, it's very identifiable and nobody else was currently using it, and that is simply not true. So here we are at Holborn Underground Station on the Central Line. It was built in 1933 and it has this checkerboard pattern all over the platform and all through the corridors. Is it because of the police? Does this represent the police? Of course not. The reason it's here is because this is the closest underground station to the Grand Mother Lodge of England. But the checkerboard pattern didn't start with English Freemasons. No, it began in Scotland, and those ancient traditions spread throughout the world and became known as the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry.
The earliest writings about the constitution of the Masons were from 1598, the William Shaw Statutes. The checkerboard pattern used in their temples was top secret because it symbolised a dangerous allegiance to King James VI of Scotland and his close cousin Walter Stewart, because the checkerboard pattern at the time was used by the Stuart clan. Supporting the Stuarts back then was seen as treasonous to Elizabeth I of England and could easily result in your head coming off.
Glasgow and Edinburgh in Scotland were primary in the development of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. So for the Chief of Police of the city of Glasgow, a known Freemason, to say that the checkerboard pattern is not currently used by anybody had to have been some kind of inside joke. It's certainly true that Freemasons don't wear the checkerboard as part of their regalia, but it certainly is without doubt their symbol. Just like the military and the Freemasons, the police have regalia, a special dress uniform for special occasions. It's the checkerboard hat, a black suit, and white gloves. The Masons also have the black suit and the white gloves. So anyway you look at it, the police dress uniform really does echo the aesthetic of the Freemasonic regalia. The black and white checkered pattern in Freemasonry represents duality, good versus evil, order out of chaos. And I think you'll agree that it also represents exactly the same thing in policing. Good versus evil, order out of chaos. Sir Percy Sillitoe eventually became the head of MI5, so his relationship with secrecy, both professional and personal, endured for his entire career. A man of secrets and a man with secrets. The Sillitoe Tartan, the checkerboard pattern, has deep roots in Scottish Freemasonry. It's a silent nod to an ancient tradition hidden in plain sight. A symbol of order born from a lineage of state secrecy woven into the very fabric of British policing. So the question, is the checkerboard pattern on a policeman's hat Masonic? The answer is absolutely.